Hello, boys and girls. Today is day 4, and I'm back to give you a special message from my dining room, which is now kind of my office, and I'm at the table, and it's quite a mess today. I have a lot of things on my table. Some parents sent me pictures of your very tidy desks. I'm so proud of you that you already set up a learning station in your house. I bet yours doesn't have a Mr. Piggle or a leprechaun, or a cat. Aya. There's Aya the cat. Aya the cat is too lazy to turn around. That would take a lot of effort, and Aya does not enjoy things that take a lot of effort. So my message this morning or today is a challenge. A challenge to you that might be kind of fun, kind of sneaky leprechaun kind of challenge. And a lot of people are doing this right now. And that is to make either a shamrock, a 4-leaf clover. You can make it out of green paper. You can just draw some on a paper, kind of big, not too tiny, or a rainbow. And you put it in the window of your house, a window that somebody would see if they're walking by. And now if all of you do that, there will be 24 rainbows and shamrocks in windows. So when your family takes a walk around the neighborhood, you could play a little game to see if you can spy the shamrocks and rainbows. They're a little bit of cheer that people are doing all around America, actually. And so I thought that's a pretty cool idea to put a shamrock or a rainbow in the window. And if you spread this around to your friends that you talk to on the phone, then maybe other families can do it, and it'll be a fun little thing to do in the neighborhood. I ordered this book on Amazon, and then I think our leprechaun did us such a trick because look what happened. 2 books came. I make boo-boos all the time. I might have just accidentally ordered 2, but double books is okay by me. Is it okay by you? I think so. So I'm going to read it for the very first time. I skimmed it. This one's long. It has a lot of words. And then afterwards, we're going to do a poem together. And I'm going to show you something special because it's Science Thursday. And on Science Thursday, we'll do an experiment, or I'll just share something with you that you can do at home as well. A fine St. Patrick's Day. I've been to Ireland, and it looks like this. This also reminds me of the hills behind our school, which is one of my favorite places ever, the hills behind our school. And I've seen cows, but I don't think I've seen sheep behind our school. You live in a really lovely neighborhood. A fine St. Patrick's Day. Look at that horse. It's ridiculous. I really love the illustrations. That's why I bought this book. For as far back as anyone could remember, the town of Tralee and Tralee had been rivals. Every year on St. Patrick's Day, they held a contest to see which town could decorate best for the holiday. And though the people of Tralee tried their hardest, they never won. The prize, a golden trophy in the shape of a shamrock, was always awarded to Tralee. Each year, when the winner was announced by the official county judge, the people of Tralee sighed and said, "Next year we'll win, to be sure." The people of Tralee laughed at them. "No, you won't. You've always lost, and you always will," they said. One year, the mayor of Tralee rang a bell in the town square, calling all the townspeople to gather. When everyone was there, he said, "Little Fiona Riley, though she's but a wee lass of 6, has come up with a fine idea for this year's contest. We'll win, to be sure, but only if everyone agrees to it." Little Fiona's plan was to paint everything in the town bright green. "'Tis a fine idea," said Emily O'Fallon. "But will all of your homes be painted green?" "Yes," said the mayor. "'Tis surely a fine idea," said Reverend Flaherty. "But will even the churches be green?" "Yes." "'Tis a most excellent idea," said Brogan O'Neill, the school principal. "But will the school be green?" "Yes," said the mayor. "Everything right down to the wee doghouse will be painted green, except for the mailboxes," said Mr. Root, the postmaster. "They are government property." "And the fire hydrants," added Captain Blazes, the fire chief. "They must stay yellow and be seen." A hush came over the crowd as the townspeople thought about the plan. When the mayor asked how many wanted to paint the town green, everyone shouted and cheered and whooped and hollered and said, "'Tis a fine idea! This year we'll win, to be sure!" They agreed that little Fiona Riley's name should be engraved on the trophy. The people of Tralee bought painters' hats and coveralls. They bought brushes and rollers. They rummaged through basements and sheds for ladders and buckets, and little Fiona was allowed to choose the shade of green they would use. Emerald Isle, Limerick Lime, or Galway Green. Fiona chose Limerick Lime. Mr. and Mrs. Kelly, who owned the hardware store, ordered hundreds and hundreds of gallons of Limerick Lime paint. Meanwhile, the people of Tralee were planning too. They decided to cut shamrocks from green cardboard, sprinkle them with glitter, and hang them from every branch of every tree in town. On the day before St. Patrick's Day, as everyone in Tralee and Tralee was busy working on the decorations, a little man on a large horse came galloping across the meadow. He wore red trousers, a brown leather apron, and boots decorated with gold bells. His beard came down to his stomach. His pointed ears stuck out beneath the brim of his hat. His horse had long satin ribbons braided into its mane. The man turned toward Tralee and stopped at Mrs. Donegal's house at the edge of town. He pounded on the front door. Mrs. Donegal, scissors in hand, answered. Frantically, the little man asked, "Begging your pardon, can you help me? I was leading my cows across the river, and sure and begorra, they're stuck in the mud." "You picked the wrong day to ask for help," said Mrs. Donegal sharply. "I'm cutting shamrocks." She shut the door in his face. The stranger hurried to the next house. When Mr. O'Leary answered the door, the little man asked, "Begging your pardon, can you help me? I was leading my cows across the river. Sure and begorra, they're stuck in the mud." "Away with you," said Mr. O'Leary. "I'm busy cutting string for our shamrocks." "The river is cold. My cows won't last much longer, to be sure," said the stranger. But Mr. O'Leary had shut the door and gone back to measuring his length of string. At the third house, the little man asked again, "Begging your pardon, can you help me? I was leading my cows across the river, and sure and begorra, they're stuck in the mud." Then the McLeans, their hands covered with glitter and glue, looked annoyed. "Don't you know what day this is?" Mrs. McLean asked. "We're getting ready to beat Tralee in the contest." At every house, the stranger was turned away. Finally, he crossed the field into Tralee. At the first house he came upon, he asked, "Begging your pardon, can you help me? I was leading my cows across the river, and sure and begorra, they're stuck in the mud." Mary Kate Driscoll was on her ladder, paintbrush in hand. Her coveralls were splattered with Limerick Lime paint. Her face was smudged with Limerick Lime blotches. She climbed down and looked at the little man. She looked up at her house. She scratched her head. "Follow me," Mary Kate said. She ran to the town square and rang the bell until the townspeople came wearing coveralls and painters' hats. The little man yelled out to the crowd, "Begging your pardon, can you help me? I was leading my cows across the river, and sure and begorra, they're stuck in the mud." "But what about our painting?" someone shouted. "What about the contest?" called another voice. "This year we'll win, to be sure." "What about the trophy?" a third person called out. Little Fiona Riley was sitting atop her father's shoulders listening. She looked down at the people all splattered with Limerick Lime paint. She thought about the golden trophy. She thought about having her name engraved on it. Finally, she called out in a voice loud and clear, "But what about the cows? We need to help the cows." A hush came over the crowd as everyone considered what little Fiona had said. "'Tis a fine idea," said Emily O'Fallon. "'Tis surely a fine idea," said Reverend Flaherty. "'Tis a most excellent idea," said Bogan O'Neill. When the mayor took a vote of how many people wanted to help the stranger, every hand went up. The crowd shouted and cheered and whooped and hollered. All the people of Tralee headed for the river, the children, the old folks, and families with babies. They went in wagons, on bicycles, and on foot. As they crossed the meadows, they heard the sounds of cowbells. And when they reached the river, sure and begorra, there was the little man's cows stuck in the mud. Everyone pushed and pulled and tugged. One by one, the cows were freed from the mud at the bottom of the river. The sun had long set by the time the people of Tralee got back to their homes and fell into bed, tired and wet. "Ah, well, next year we'll win, to be sure," said the mayor to his wife as he sank into a deep snoring sleep. The following morning, the people of Tralee woke to the sound of the bell ringing in the town square. They ran outside in their pajamas and nightgowns, and in the case of old Mr. Murphy, bright red long underwear. What they saw was so incredible they could barely believe their eyes. Every inch of Tralee was green, sparkling, shimmering, glimmering, glorious green, from the wee dog houses to the tall spires of the church, except for the mailboxes, being government property, and the fire hydrants, which remained yellow, so they could be seen. The people of Tralee shouted and cheered and whooped and hollered. "This year we'll win, to be sure." And they did. When the official county judge rode through the two towns, he declared Tralee to be the winner and handed the mayor the prize. The trophy case in the town hall was no longer empty. It now held one golden shamrock, which would soon be engraved with little Fiona's name. As the St. Patrick's Day supper of lamb and boiled potatoes was set out in the town hall, the mayor asked some of the townspeople to find the stranger and invite him to the party. They rode across the meadow, beyond the river, and as far as the peat bog, but they could not find the little man or his cows. All they found was a single cowbell. It was made of shining gold. And though the people of Tralee passed the golden cowbell from hand to hand and talked through supper about glimmering, glorious green miracle, no one could account for what had happened. All they could remember was the tinkling sound of the little man's boots and the beautiful ribbons in his horse's mane. Little Fiona Riley remembered that when the man thanked her at the river, he said, "You've already won." As the sun began to sink behind the hills, the town slowly faded back to its real colors. "'Twas a fine St. Patrick's Day," the mayor said. He took the golden shamrock from the trophy case and put it into little Fiona Riley's hands. Everyone shouted and cheered and whooped and hollered. I really love that story because it gives a wonderful message about how being good on the inside will come back to you in return. And I know that's what you're doing right now. It's hard to be inside. It's hard to be patient and figure out what's going on because everything seems a little bit upside down and sideways. And so now is a good time for you to look for magic and try to make your own happiness a little so you can spread that around in your house. So our poem today is one from class about money because we're studying money and math. And you can say it with me if you can read it. Maybe I'll zoom in today. Penny, penny, easily spent, coppery brown and worth 1 cent. Nickel, nickel, thick and fat, you're worth 5 cents, I know that. Dime, dime, little and thin, I remember you're worth 10. Quarter, quarter, big and bold, you're worth 25, I am told. I just made up that little tune. I don't think I'm going to become a famous singer on any television show, but there you go. And we'll maybe sing this one a few more times together. Okay, here's my double story. So today, I'm going to show you something from my kitchen, and then I'm going to challenge you to try to find some things around your yard too. And so what I'm going to show you is my herb garden, and I love it because it smells so good and I use it in my cooking. And this is rosemary. It looks like a tree a little bit, and the leaves are long and thin. So today, see if you can find a long, thin leaf somewhere. This one's basil, and it's yummy on pizza and in pasta sauce. And it smells so delicious, almost minty. This one's oregano, also good in cooking, and it has tiny leaves. So see if you can find something outside that has long, skinny leaves, maybe even grass, kind of fatter leaves, tiny little leaves. And this one, I think it's a spare rosemary. I think I have two, or it might be, no, that's thyme. That's what that's called. It's called thyme. So I don't know if you have a garden at your home. If you do, let me know. And I'll see you tomorrow. I love you all. Bye-bye.